On the 13th of December 2062, my team and I launched a very important mission for the purpose of expanding our knowledge on existence.
I've never heard of a moment in history where an entire field is hinging on a single event. The Large Hadron Collider, the biggest machine ever built, is finally going to turn on.
Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful. Whatever lies beyond the universe is too dense for us to sustain a signal, and therefore there will be no further experiments regarding the mission whatsoever.
You take two things and you smash them together. You get a lot of stuff out of that collusion and you try to understand that stuff.
In 2012, scientists at CERN smashed particles together, and something broke. Not the machine, not the world, reality. Because ever since that day, people all over the planet have reported impossible memories, warped geography and history that rewrites itself. They called it the Mandela Effect. But what if it's something darker? What if CERN didn't discover the God particle? What if they triggered something that ended the world and none of us noticed?
Have you ever heard of the Higgs Boson, Mr. Lockhart? The Higgs Boson is responsible for all mass in our universe.
What kind of discovery are we actually talking about here?
God.
In the summer of 2012, deep beneath the fields of Switzerland, scientists at CERN smashed two protons together at nearly the speed of light. The world didn't shake, the sky didn't rip open, but something shifted. That same day, they confirmed the existence of the Higgs Boson, the so-called God particle. A discovery so powerful, physicists had warned it might unlock more than just knowledge. It might tear the very fabric of reality. They called it the greatest scientific breakthrough of our time. But outside the lab, something strange began to happen. People started remembering things that didn't exist. Childhood books had different titles, movie lines were rewritten, famous logos looked wrong. And the more people noticed, the weirder it got. Some said it was all in our heads. Others called it the Mandela Effect. But a growing number of people believed something deeper had changed, something invisible and massive. Time felt different. History felt unstable. And those who looked too closely began to wonder if we were still living in the same universe at all. Because what if CERN didn't just find the God particle? What if they triggered something? Not a black hole, not a weapon, but a ripple, a quiet break in reality that pushed us onto a different path. And if that's true, what timeline are we living in now? In 1954, CERN was founded just outside Geneva, Switzerland. Its mission? To unlock the secrets of the universe using the most powerful machines ever built by man. But what started as pure science would soon become something stranger. Because in 2008, after decades of planning, CERN flipped the switch on a machine unlike anything Earth had ever seen. The Large Hadron Collider, a 17-mile underground ring designed to rip apart the tiniest pieces of matter. They weren't just studying particles. They were trying to recreate conditions that existed just after the Big Bang. In July 2012, they succeeded. The Higgs Boson, the God particle, was confirmed. The crowd erupted in cheers. But some scientists weren't celebrating. Theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking had warned years earlier that finding the Higgs could lead to disaster. He described a theoretical event called vacuum decay, a collapse of the universe at the quantum level, a chain reaction triggered by too much energy in the wrong place. At the time, his warning was brushed off. But what if something did happen, and it didn't look like what we expected? Because around the world, something began to change. Not in the sky, not on the ground, in our memories. People began remembering different versions of history. Entire groups recalled famous lines that no longer existed. Movie quotes were wrong. Logos were altered. Maps looked strange. It was like the past had been edited, but only some of us noticed. They called it the Mandela Effect. Because thousands of people insisted Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, even though he lived until 2013, 1 year after CERN found the Higgs Boson. Coincidence? Maybe. But what if that wasn't a memory error? What if that was the first ripple? The moment the timeline split. Because once you notice the Mandela Effect, You start to see it everywhere. And the deeper you look, the less sense this world starts to make. Something changed in 2012, and CERN might have pulled the trigger. CERN claims the Mandela Effect is just a trick of the mind, a psychological glitch, false memories. But what if that's just the cover story? Because in 2012, something else strange happened, something they never explained. A global GPS update was pushed out to correct satellite positions, but no one could say why the Earth's magnetic field had suddenly shifted. In the same window of time, physicists at CERN published papers hinting at the existence of extra dimensions. They said they were searching for evidence of gravitons, particles that could link gravity to parallel realities. It was brushed off as theoretical. But in 2015, CERN quietly launched the Awake experiment. Its stated goal? To study plasma and particle acceleration. But the equipment used was powerful enough to bend time perception itself. And then came the rituals. Footage leaked online showing hooded figures at CERN, gathered around the statue of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction. One of them appears to be stabbed during the ceremony. CERN called it a prank, but the footage was never traced to any known employees. Why is there a statue of Shiva at the entrance of a particle collider? And why is it modeled after a cosmic dance of creation and destruction? In 2016, an energy anomaly was recorded just above the LHC during a high-energy run. Cameras caught a swirling black shape in the sky, what some described as a cloud vortex or a hole above Geneva. It was dismissed as weather, but meteorologists had no explanation for its shape, speed, or sudden disappearance. Meanwhile, people continued to report memory shifts, the location of countries on maps, the design of human anatomy, even the number of bones in the body. And every time CERN ramped up energy levels, more anomalies appeared. One Reddit user posted that during a 2016 run, his clock skipped forward 3 minutes at 3:33 a.m. He wasn't alone. Posts poured in about electrical surges, time slips, even shared dreams. CERN says none of this is connected, but they also said their collider couldn't affect the outside world. Then why are people feeling it? And why does the weirdest stuff always happen when the collider turns back on? Here's where it gets dangerous. In 2013, just 1 year after the Higgs Boson was confirmed, CERN published a paper titled, "Search for Microscopic Black Holes." Not in theory, in practice. The Large Hadron Collider had reached energy levels high enough to begin probing the possibility of creating tiny black holes. According to CERN, these black holes would evaporate instantly and be harmless. But critics pointed out a chilling flaw. What if they didn't? A safety report from CERN in 2008 mentioned that if micro black holes were stable, they could theoretically sink to the center of the Earth, and there slowly grow. CERN dismissed the idea. But the original document still exists, buried in their archives with sections heavily redacted. Now let's go back to 2012. That same year, the Vatican announced the opening of their secret archives, over 85 kilometers of underground documents never before seen by the public. Why now? Some say it was unrelated. Others say it was a controlled leak, timed to distract from what was happening at CERN just weeks later. Because here's the twist. One of the texts released describes a realm beyond time where reality fractures when the fabric of creation is struck at its root. A passage once dismissed as religious metaphor now reads differently, especially when you learn that ancient civilizations warned against disturbing the foundations of the world. In Babylonian myth, the Abzu was a watery underworld sealed to prevent chaos from spilling out. In Hindu lore, Shiva performs the dance of destruction only at the end of time. And where is CERN located? On top of what used to be called Apollyon's Gate, named after a Roman temple to Apollo, the god of light and of the underworld. In Revelation 9:11, the key to the abyss is given to a being named Apollyon. He opens a pit, releasing destruction across the earth. Why would scientists build the world's largest machine, capable of piercing the fabric of reality, on top of that exact spot? And why does CERN's official logo contain 3 overlapping 6s? Maybe that's all a coincidence. Or maybe the discovery of the Higgs boson wasn't the end of the experiment. Maybe it was the beginning of something we can't undo. In 2012, CERN discovered the God particle. But what if that moment wasn't a breakthrough? What if it was a breach? The world didn't explode. It drifted, subtly, quietly, like slipping into a mirror that isn't quite the same. Some say the timeline changed, others say it ended, and what we're living in now is just the echo. The clues are everywhere, flickering between logos, misremembered names, and impossible memories. But the deeper you look, the more reality seems like a story someone is rewriting in real time. CERN says it's all science, but ancient myths warned of places where time folds and shadows speak, places we were never meant to open. And still, they keep digging, so we'll ask again, what really happened in 2012? And more importantly, what happens when they turn the collider back on? Have you felt it? Noticed something? Off? If you've experienced glitches, time slips, or Mandela effects, drop them in the comments. Let's build a record before it shifts again. And if you want to keep pulling this thread, subscribe for more strange stories they don't want you to see. Because what if this reality isn't broken? What if it was built that way?